Alex Shurikat presents my very emotional parody audiobook, Steamgelion! Our greatest characters. Саня Иванов,
Marina Kalina,
Римма Кагевич, Commander Ivanov,
Raya Ayanova, Honko Litvinenko, Hani Katzman,
Толя Сусухав.
Roma Kazi.
First season, episode 23. It was evening in the government sanatorium named after Vladimir Ilyich Skab. Toля Suzuhaev, almost recovered from the shock, sat in his sanatorium room and thought about Anka, about all his other friends, and about the struggle of the Soviet people against America. Suddenly, Toля heard someone scratching at the window of his room. Getting up and going to the closed window frame, he was delighted and surprised to find that outside the window, clinging to the window sill, his beloved brave Anka was hanging in her military uniform with awards and weapons. "Anka!" he exclaimed and quickly opened the window. The breeze rushed into the room and Anka, grabbing the Tola's hand, climbed in after it.
Tolia, I'm here for you.
She explained, brushing herself off.
I also have stress, almost fatal.
Anka, Tolia said lovingly, not knowing what to do. At this time, a nurse of the sanatorium, who was standing in front of the door of Tola's room, grinned and hung a sign with the inscription, "Do not disturb," on the doorknob. When she came to a back room covered with naked bodybuilders and dialed a number on the phone, said into the receiver,
It's Cap. 7 shift. You can take it.
One day before it evening, Anka disappeared. And before that, leaving her tear-filled cockpit, she did not talk to anyone and began to growl angrily like a cat when someone approached her. And the entire staff of Undergrunker literally ran off their feet in search of Anka. By the way, the agents from Smolny, having heard from Comrade Ivanov about the disappearance of Anka, were not at all worried and said that the Communist Party had just recently sent another pilot to Undergrunker. Comrade Ivanov, Comrade Kalina and Comrade Agevich, in Comrade Kalina's vehicle, drove to that sanatorium to pick up Anka. Lanterns flew past the window, and Comrade Agevich, in the back seat, was angry either with Third Engineer or with the one who gave Comrade Kalina the ring. By the way, Comrade Kalina has taken off her ring so far. Comrade Ivanov, cautiously glancing at the speedometer, turned some difficult thoughts in his head. Finally, he decided to voice his thoughts. Comrades, do you think it's okay that a hot girl and a brave boy are in the same room in the evening? It's already dark, and youth is full of stupidity. Comrade Kalina turned her head to Comrade Ivanov and in some magical intuitive way deftly avoided an old man crossing the road. And she said,
Comrade Ivanov, are you saying that when we arrive, 2 pilots will already have a third one?
I don't even want to hear about it. That's why I'm worried. Comrade Agevich smirked and said, But I wonder what the child of 2 combat pilots would be like. When they grow up, of course. Comrade Kalina threw up her hands and said,
Oh my gremlin, what kind of combat pilot is Tolia? How could you get so carried away with pictures of naked girls, but you didn't even notice how your robot was being turned to shreds?
It's not surprising at his age. Comrade Ivanov looked at his watch and said, Now I'm even more worried. The vehicle reached the sanatorium only on the dark night. At the reception, they were kindly greeted and pointed out in which room Anka and Tolia are secluded. Seeing that the light in the window of the room was still on, Comrade Ivanov decided to conduct reconnaissance first and said, Comrade Kalina, do you have binoculars?
I do. Where's in the car?
Please, bring it. Comrade Kalina ran for the device and returned. Comrade Ivanov put his hand on the mighty oak in the yard of the sanatorium and ordered. Comrade Kalina, climb this tree and see what's where.
What the heck?
Comrade Kalina was indignant, glancing at Comrade Agevich, who was grinning.
Why should I climb the tree?
Comrade Ivanov brought his face close to Comrade Kalina and hissed. Because I don't want to see a little girl without clothes.
Starting to play laugh, we would turn off the light.
Comrade Kalina muttered, but she began to climb the oak. Sitting there, she put the binoculars to her eyes and suddenly leaned forward with interest. Comrade Ivanov asked, What's there? Comrade Kalina. And when he noticed that the binoculars were not aimed at the window indicated by him, and was indignant. What are you looking at? Here, every window is a state secret! Comrade Kalina whistled and said in response.
Wow, what secrets our state has! I would never have thought that these two are so cute!
Immediately stop! Comrade Ivanov was seriously frightened and was about to climb the tree himself. Comrade Agevich remained cold.
Alright.
Comrade Kalina showed complaisance and redirected the binoculars. But then she almost dropped it and smoothly sat down on a branch, making a sad face. Looking at her colleagues, who were staring at her and were waiting for a report, she said quietly,
We sit side by side in an armchair and sleep hugging. You.
There were some cute scenes. Cute but boring. In short, Anka returned to combat work and Tola, who decided to become a pacifist from on now, returned to school. It was Friday and the events took place at that small special station from the first episode. A locomotive with 3 wagons was approaching the platform. One of wagons was passenger and the other 2 were cargo. About a dozen men were visible in the passenger wagon. Comrade Kalina, Sanya, Anka and Raya stood on the platform and wondered what the 5th pilot would be like. Finally, the train stopped and the wagon door swung open. An interesting young man, dressed in white trousers and a white jacket, descended onto the platform. This boy was only a year older than Sanya, but already had a short beard and mustache. Hello, friends, he said happily.
Hello.
Comrade Kalina replied.
How was your trip?
Oh, thank you, ma'am. I arrived perfectly. Then Raya turned her head to Anka and whispered in her ear. He's a spy. Are you serious? Anka was surprised, her eyes widening. It's not possible. Look at him closely. Anka took a closer look at the new pilot. Huh? You're right. We need to tell others. No. Better not yet. If you want to deceive the enemy, deceive your comrade. First we need to find out what he's up to and who he's working for. Meanwhile, the new pilot continued. My name is Kirill Naganov. Comrade Kalina held out her hand to him and said,
Very nice to meet you, Kirill. My name is Senior Lieutenant Kalina. I am your commander.
Very nice, Comrade Kalina. I'm honored to fight under your command. Any of your orders will be law for me. These words evoked
A happy smile
from Comrade Kalina. After all, her old subordinates were not so obedient. Sanya, who was glad but now he would not be alone among so many girls, also gave Kirill a hand and said, My name is Sanya Ivanov. I am a pilot of the Soyuz AB. Oh, very happy, Sanya! Kirill exclaimed and straightened his mustache, which had come off a little. I'm sure we'll be great friends, companions, and just call me Kira. Alright, Kira! Raya narrowed her eyes and also offered a handshake, saying,
Raya Ainamova.
Oh, the pilot of the prototype! The first model! Kirill grabbed Raya's hand and kissed it, stunning the girl. Nice to meet you, Raya!
Anka Litvinenko.
Anka continued the acquaintance procedure.
I'm a pilot of the Soyuz AC. And don't kiss me! I have a boyfriend.
Okay. Kirill laughed and simply shook Anka's hand. Legendary Galio, the ages from my common instructors told a lot about you.
And what did they tell about me?
Oh, they told only good things. Well, Comrade Lieutenant, can I ask you?
Yes, you can.
Comrade Karina nodded, very pleased to finally be treated like an officer. Comrade Lieutenant, order that my belongings and specialists, what I brought with me, be delivered to Undergrunker. Anka decided to inquire.
And what are these specialists?
Oh, this is a small military secret, Gario. Kirill answered, smiling sweetly. But very soon I will open it for you. Until then, please be patient. 5 minutes later, we were all in the vehicle. Sitting to the right of Katerina, Kirill ranted about how excited he was to fight against the United States. Sanya listened to him enthusiastically, while Raya and Anka whispered wearily. When they arrived at the Undergrunker, Kirill was immediately taken away by Komitagevich, who decided to immediately test him for synchronization with dice. The rest of the pilots and Komitarina, of course, did not deny themselves the pleasure of watching it. But none of them noticed how Kirill deftly replaced the dice given to him with his own, and showed such a result that everyone was stunned. 6-6 did not fall out only for the last time, when Kirill changed the dice again, returning the original ones. Incredible! That's all Komitagevich could say, counting the points. Komitkarina afterward began to look at Kirill with undisguised curiosity. While the test was going on, containers with things of Kirill and the specialists he spoke about were delivered to Undergrunker. Komitonov personally supervised the movement of things to the hangar and was a little amiable with the specialists, who crowded a little bewilderedly on the platform leading to the heads of the Soyuzes. Having finished this business, Komitonov went to the training room. Having entered there 5 seconds later as Komitagevich counted the points, Komitonov reported to Kirill that everything was ready. Great! Kirill nodded and winked at Sanya. Now, I beg your pardon, but I have to talk to Komitonov and Komitagevich in private.
Hey, we don't have secrets from each other!
Anka suddenly declared and began to drill Kirill with her eyes. Raya stepped up to Anka and stepped on her foot, but Anka did not even move. Komitonov cleared his throat and said almost affectionately, Anka, what are you talking about? It's just a formality. Looking at Sanya, Raya, Anka and Komitarina, Komitonov said, Comrades, see you later. Kirill led Komitonov and Komitagevich to the hangar, where specialists were already fussing around the containers, trying to figure out how to unpack them better. Kirill pulled out a sealed envelope from his jacket and handing it to Komitonov, said, Comrades, this is a secret order from the from the Communist Party. The specialists who have come with me will deal with the secret modernization of the Soyuz AC. Komitagevich, I beg your pardon, but even you are not allowed to watch the modernization process.
What?
She roared, from which everyone around froze for a second.
For what reason?
Oh, I beg your pardon, ma'am, but everything is pointed in the paper. Please take a look. Komitonov opened the envelope and pulled out the paper. Komitagevich stared at the document and ran through its text, read aloud one of its lines. In order to avoid any excesses, Chief Mechanic of the most advanced Soviet combat machines, named after Vladimir Ilyich Lenin, Makagevich, should be removed from participation in the work and not allowed to observe its progress. What the hell? What the heck? Kirill nodded his head in understanding and said, Oh, I absolutely agree with you, ma'am, but an order is an order. Komitonov looked sympathetically at Komitargevich and shrugging his shoulders said, "Well, Komitargevich, orders must be obeyed. This order is not so scary."
Whose side are you on?
Komitonov frowned. "I am on the side of the Soviet Union." Turning his head to Kirill, Komitonov assured, "Kirill, don't worry, my people will secure the hangar." Kirill saluted, and meeting the gaze of one specialist who looked somehow suspicious, barely perceptibly nodded to him. The bright red Pobeda vehicle stood in the parking lot and waiting for the arrival of Kirill. But the first to leave the building was not Kirill, but Komitargevich. Her face was serious and determined. Walking up to the vehicle with a quick step and putting her hand on its roof, Komitargevich immediately suggested, "Galina, let's get drunk today." She replied, looking away and hiding some plans.
I have things to do. Come on another time.
Dollar is with you, damn you all! Komitargevich was offended and walked back. Having collected several portions of her favorite dishes in the canteen, Komitargevich locked herself in her workshop and pulled out a bottle with purest ethyl alcohol from the safe. Komitargevich took all the pilots, including Kirill, home. Moreover, since Kirill had not yet been given an order to move in, he stayed overnight at Sanya, and Sanya was incredibly happy about it. Komitargevich said that she needed to do something and left. "Oh, you have a guitar!" Kirill was delighted when he saw Sanya's musical instrument. "Perfect! Do you play too?" Sanya admiringly asked. "Oh, very little. Will you play something?" "Oh, with your permission." Kirill took the guitar, straightened his mustache again and began to play a fragment from the opera Swan Lake. Returning to Vandergunker, Komitargevich sneaked into the secret archive past the sleeping watchman. Almost dying from the crackling of a dry branch on which she accidentally stepped, she began to wander between the shelves and looked for the personal files of the pilots. Finally, she succeeded. Pulling out a folder with inscription Kirill Naganov, Komitargevich opened it and raised her eyebrows in surprise. Almost all personal information about this Kirill was filled with ink and, accordingly, securely hidden from reading. Only gender and age could be seen.
Interesting. He's like a secret agent.
She said herself out loud. When she looked up and saw Rai's personal file. Out of pure curiosity, opening Rai's folder, Komitargevich almost dropped it from her hands, fitting her eyes into one of the lines.
What? And she too? Scoundrel! Oh, you.
When Komitargevich left the archive, she was suddenly met by Komitonov, who was passing by. He became visibly angry and looking sideways at the watchman and trying not to wake him, hissed.
Komitargevich, what were you doing in the secret archive? Are you asking to be shot again?
I just got lost, and I saw an interesting door.
Okay, here, take it.
Komitonov handed her a document and a key.
These are property documents and the key to Naganov's apartment. Take it to him since you met me.
It'll be done, Comrade Commander.
Komitargevich barked joyfully, forgetting about the watchman. Komitonov shrugged his head in his shoulders and closed his eyes. And the watchman woke up and grabbed his shotgun, aiming it at them. "Stop! Who is coming?"
We locals.
Komitargevich reassured.
Locals.
The watchman incredulously asked.
Yes, sir. Really, Comrade Ivanov?
Yes, sir. And by the way, we're just actually passing by. The watchman lowered his shotgun and said, "We're just passing by." "Well, then hurry up. All sorts of people go here and documents suddenly disappear. Having safely reached the house, Count Kalina handed over the document and the key to Kirill. His apartment turned out to be above Anga's apartment, which she was not very pleased with. She even wrote a note to Kirill and shoved it under his door. The note said,
If you decide to drill a hole from your bathroom into mine, I will shoot you and blow you up!
All weekend, Sunny and Kirill went to each other's houses, listened to Mac Radio, visited the toy store together, and even learned the history of the Communist Party. Anka and Raya stubbornly refused to take part in any of these events. As for Kalina, she behaved somehow strangely, as if trying to tell Sunny something, but not daring to do so. But he did not even notice this, being in euphoria from the fact that he had a real senpai. It's Monday. As always, having arrived at work from a romantic date, and before anyone else, Komitonov sat down at his desk. Glancing at a small box lying on the table, he called his son at home and ordered Count Kalina to bring all the pilots with her, promising a pleasant event. Returning the handset of the phone on its place, Komitonov took the box and went to the control center. Komitagesh, in her rather wrinkled lab coat and with obvious signs of hangover on her face, was already there and reluctantly followed the readings of the Series AA and Series AB instruments. First and second engineers, dissatisfied with the fact that they had to work without additional pay instead of third, were also there. Entering the command center, Komitonov winked at the portrait of Comrade Stalin and sat down in his place in happy anticipation. Finally the door opened and something dazzling flashed in the doorway. Of course, it was Comrade Kalina's boots that flashed. Following she, 4 pilots entered. Moreover, Sanya and Kirill walked in the center and Raya and Anka on the sides. Sanya kept chatting with Kirill, but Kirill answered somehow out of place and seemed to be dissatisfied with something. As for Anka and Raya, we only silently looked sideways at Kirill in poorly concealed alertness and winked at each other in Morse code. Line up! Komitonov ordered, standing up and radiating joy stronger than the shine of Komitarina's boots. And everyone, even the engineers, lined up. Komitonov smiled and, hiding the box behind his back, continued his speech. My dear comrades, today is a special day, and my senses tremble. After all, isn't it wonderful when the reward finds its hero? And I'm glad to bring this good news to you. It happened. It happened once again, comrades! Glory to the Communist Party. Raya, come to me. Raya took 3 steps forward, and at the same time, she managed to look fairly at Kirill one more time. Komitonov continued. For the immeasurable valor shown in battle, exceptional courage and selflessness in the name of common idea, despite some amateur performance, Raya Ayanamova is awarded the Star of the Hero of the Soviet Union. Komitonov handed Raya the box with the gold star. Raya even blushed a little, and everyone around began to applaud loudly. After Raya accepted her award and turned to the others, Count Kalina screamed with joy and everyone rushed to hug and congratulate Raya. And in the dazzling brilliance of his joy, no one noticed how Kirill took one cautious step with his back, another step, and ran away. Leaving the command center, Kirill ran towards the hangar. The entrance there was guarded, but according to the conditions, Kirill had the right to enter there. A soldier helpfully opened the door for Kirill, who nodded to him in gratitude. In the hangar, there was a collective snoring of specialists, who worked almost without respite all this time, and having completed their secret modernization, allowed themselves to take a nap. The same suspicious specialist was dozing right here, covering himself with a drawing and resting his head on some kind of suitcase. Kirill ran up to the specialist and woke him up. As soon as he woke up, he immediately handed Kirill the suitcase on which he had slept and assured him quietly, getting up. All is ready. Well done. Kirill nodded his head, and he and the specialist fell in different directions. The specialist rushed to the exit from the hangar, and Kirill to the opposite corner, to the stairs that led down to the level where the feet of the Soyuzers were. On the way, Kirill opened the suitcase and pulled out some kind of rectangular device with 2 joysticks and a lot of buttons. Dropping the suitcase, Kirill flipped a toggle switch on the side of the device. And then, when 10 seconds later a light with the inscription ready came on, he stopped, turned around to the Soyuz AC, and pressing the big red button said, "Mortal Kombat began!" And at this time, in the command center, where emotions subsided a little, Komatagevich pulled out a glass flask with a crystal clear liquid from her pocket and said, "Well, let's celebrate, shall we? There's just about 100 grams for each." Komatanov grinned good-naturedly and asked a question. "I hope you meant each adult, Komatagevich." Then Raya looked around and exclaimed,
Hey, where is this damn Naganov?
and then the undergrunker was shaken by a dull blow. Noticing that the pointers of the Soyuz AC instruments reached their operating parameters very briskly, Komatagevich dropped the flask and exclaimed,
What the hell does it mean? Trials without me too? What to hell trials?
cried Anka, being no longer able to endure.
Your favorite Nahanov is a spy!
What? Everyone asked in a friendly chorus except for Aya. Afterward, Sanya suddenly seized the initiative and rushed to the exit, shouting as he went,
Comrades, attack! Follow me!
And the whole gang rushed after him, drawing their weapons. Towards them, they came across fleeing specialists, led by the soldier who was guarding the entrance to the hangar. All had frightened faces and round eyes. Komatagevich rushed forward and grabbed the first specialist by the clothes, growled,
What is happening where?
The specialist raised his hands in fright and shouted, "The Soyuz AC moves by itself and destroys everything!"
What did you do with it? What was this upgrade?
We just installed a steam generator, so that it could work autonomously longer! Throwing the specialist aside so much so that he hit the wall, but still immediately ran, Komatagevich rushed home, leading everyone personally. Having run into the hangar, the comrades saw a simply terrible picture. The Soyuz AC swung and dealt a terrible blow to the Soyuz AB. A new detail was found behind the back of the Soyuz AC, something similar to a satchel. Then Kirill, who was sitting on the steps and looking out a little, holding that strange device with joysticks in front of him and pointing it at the Soyuz AC, noticed the heroes who had come running, and he cursed. Then, fearing that he would be noticed, instead of completely destroying other Soyuzers, he limited himself only to cutting off their fuel oil pipelines, pulling out the fittings. The rest of the fuel oil gushed out of the onboard tanks. And then he forced the Soyuz AC to grab the machine gun, which fortunately did not have a magazine since it was on reloading, and with 2 blows of the butt broke one of the walls, immediately disappearing behind it. When Ryan noticed Kirill's head flickering in the distance above the steps of the stairs, and grabbing Anka by the sleeve, dragged her there without saying a word. "Where are you going?" Komatanov exclaimed. At what moment, Comet Kalina pulled herself together and gave an order.
Sanya, get into your cockpit! Gany Sergeyevich, follow me!
The task is clear, Comet Kalina! With wild readiness, shouted Sanya, rushing to the Soyuz AB. But how? Comet Ivanov wanted to object something, stretching out his hand after Anka and Raya, but Comet Kalina sternly insisted on her demand. The Soyuz AC has already staged a real rout in the bunker, clearly pursuing the goal of getting to the very underground bunker. And when finally Sanya made the Soyuz AP jump to the lower level through a huge gap in the floor, the Soyuz AP and the Soyuz AC grappled in a furious and terrible battle. Kirill, enthusiastically controlling the joysticks, watching the battle, slowly retreated with his back towards the broken door, behind which was located one crystal coffin with the leader of the world proletariat. But when Kirill passed through the torn doorway, he suddenly felt that his back was resting on something.
Gotcha, underdog spy!
Raya barked, putting out the pistol, on the barrel of which Kirill stumbled.
Move your hands up!
Done it! He howled bitterly and hastily carried out the order. The device with joysticks fell to the floor, and the Soyuz AC immediately stopped resisting. Paying no attention to this, Sanya swung and almost crushed the Soyuz AC head with his fist. When Anka, who was next to Raya, grabbed the microphone of Raya's transmitter and yelled,
Sashko, don't break my dear robot! Wisdom Nahanov surrendered!
But he's inside! Sanya growled in response, swinging even harder.
He's not inside! Look down here! He's standing in front of us!
With difficulty forcing himself to calm down, Sanya looked around, fumbling around in the semi-darkness with the searchlight of the Soyuz AP. And as soon as this bright ray fell on Anka and Raya and the spy arrested by them, Sanya immediately went berserk again and forced the Soyuz AP to go down on one knee. Afterward, Sanya tore off his helmet, jumped out of the cockpit and rushed to Kirill, shouting furiously,
Bastard! Now I will rip him to shreds with my own hands! And he calls himself my friend!
Kirill screamed in horror, hid behind Raya's back and begged,
Help! Help! Save me!
Anka ran towards Sanya and shouted,
Sashko, what are you going to do? He's now a prisoner of war! We must treat him humanely! I don't give a damn about all humanely now!
Seeing that the persuasion had no effect on Sanya, Raya also ran to him and together with Anka began to restrain him with great difficulty.
Capitalism bastard!
Sanya continued to swear, trying to escape from the gasping hands of the ghost.
I'll pluck his entire beard!
Kirill hid behind the coffin with Lenin. And then Raya, feeling that her strength was fading and a little more and Sanya would break out, went to extreme measures. Covering her courage, she brought her face closer to the face of Sanya and kissed him on the cheek. Sanya instantly calmed down and fell silent, smoothly turning to Raya and starting to smile. Seeing this, Kirill sank to the floor and, brushing cold sweat from his forehead, said, "Oh, I'm saved. Damn old stamps. They didn't tell me about such terrible people soar in the star." When Comet Kalina came running to the place of the battle, followed by Comet Ivanov with Comet H. Raya pointed her pistol at Kirill and ordered,
Come here! Nobody will tear to shreds, despite the fact that it should be done.
Dejectedly lowering his gaze, Kirill went out to our heroes. Raya continued the interrogation.
Tell us, what was your assignment?
Just in case, Kirill glanced at Sanya, he was still happy and smiling, and answered, Destroy the leader of the world proletariat in order to prevent the communization of mankind, and also, if possible, destroy the bunker.
What did you do with the Soyuz AC?
One of the specialists secretly installed a system of remote control in the CUZC. Here, Kotagevich could not stand it and asked out of turn.
What nonsense! The remote control could not work! We always listened to the entire radio frequencies and suppressed all non-working frequencies! Even now!
Oh, it was not radio control, ma'am. But infrared, like televisions in the future.
Infrared?
Kotagevich even sat down to floor.
Then Sims weren't controlled that way by chance!
Oh, I don't know, I swear, ma'am. Maybe. While everybody were digesting this information, Kirill made up his mind and said, "Excuse me, may I ask a question?"
Do it!
Raya said, "How did you guess that I was a spy?"
It was very easy to guess. You glued a beard and mustache of different colors.
At that moment, an approaching howl of a police siren was heard, and a battered and dusty police jeep drove into the bunker. Having approached the participants in the interrogation, the jeep stopped and Komisar Stulkin got out of it.
Did you call the police?
He asked.
Where is the bully?
Rai pointed the barrel of the pistol at Kirill and said,
What's the bully? Who call you, sir? He introduced himself as first engineer.
Putting handcuffs on Kirill, Komisar Stulkin put Kirill in the jeep and drove away, catching a wall and scratching jeep's side.
Wait!
Exclaimed Komitvanov. We forgot to ask who Naganov worked for. Hanka waved her hand and suggested.
He must have worked for the Americans. We're fighting against us, aren't we?
Komitvanov looked away and said, I'm not sure of anything anymore. It was evening. Raya, Sanya, Anka, Toля, Komit Kalina, Komitagevich and Komitvanov gathered in Sanya's apartment. They intended to celebrate the prevention of such a terrible catastrophe and celebrate the rewarding of Raya. They set the table and sat down at it. The glasses were filled and Komitvanov, as a senior in rank, acted first. Comrades, we haven't won the war yet, and we've only won one more battle, but I'm happy. I'm happy simply because our victory was a common cause, the work of all of you. And I'm extremely glad that those present here are exactly what they are. And any commander can envy me, because with soldiers like you, defeat is impossible. To victory, comrades! To our complete victory! And clink of glasses filled the room with joyful cries. Then Tola suddenly got up. Blushing terribly and embarrassed, he turned to Anka and took her hand and said,
Anka, maybe now is the best time to do it. In general, I love you!
A second later, everyone yelled and applauded in unison, congratulating Tola. Blushing, Anka looked away and in happy embarrassment said,
Oi, Tola, what a strong and brave guy you are! I love you too!
And joyful sounds blew the air again. Komit Kalina even proposed a toast to the happiness of the new couple. After the toast was supported, Sanya rose to his full height, as red as Tola a minute ago, and said,
Raya, this is probably unexpected, but I too... I love you, right, Sion?
Tola, Anka, and Komitagevich immediately screamed with joy again, but Komit Kalina and Komitvanov, for some reason, did not support these emotions. Komit Kalina looked at Komitvanov reproachfully, and he, looking down, suddenly asked for general attention. Everyone fell silent and stared at Komitvanov in some kind of bad presentiment. Sonny, Komitvanov finally said, afraid to look Sanya in the eyes. You see, I have to confess to you. I'm sorry, but in fact, Raya, and you, forgive me if you can. Because, in fact, you are also my daughter. Your son and sister, Raya. Everyone seemed to have lost their tongues. Oh my gremlin, Dad, Sanya said, dumbfounded, turning to Raya. My sister? My brother. Raya muttered, blinking her eyes and looking at Sanya. Turning to her father, she added, Daddy. Then Sanya thought something up in his mind and yelled, How can it be? Dad! Raya is only 6 months younger than me! Well, son... Komitanov began to justify himself, looking with horror at Comet Kalina and begging her in his eyes not to talk about something else. Well, it just so happened. And who is her mother, Dad? Well, what does it matter, son? Because she does not love us too. And then Comrade Kalina made an unprecedentedly kind face, and going up to Sanya with Raya, suddenly hugged them both tenderly. Comrade Ivanov at that moment grabbed the bottle and poured himself a full glass. And Comrade Kalina said without letting go of Sanya and Raya.
But that's not all, my dears. Because in fact, I'm also your sister on the father's side.
Everyone nearly fainted from shock. And you?
Sanya whispered.
Yes, brother. I'm your older sister, Sanya.
But, oh my gremlin, Dad! How old were you when? Komitanov, who had not yet had time to drink what he had poured to himself, completely drooped and gave an answer. Well, son, I had a stormy youth. You will understand everything when you become an adult. But, Lord Marina, what's sister? In general, why did you then ask me for my middle name? Don't you know what your father's name is?
That's right, sir, I didn't know. I only knew the last name. This was enough for me. I couldn't stand him before, because he didn't marry my mother.
Kometa Gage slowly held out her hand for the bottle and said,
Great evening.
And then the doorbell rang. As the only person who was not stunned, Katarina went out into the hallway and opened the door.
No, my son!
Immediately came her happy cry. And indeed, Comrade Cousin was found in front of the threshold, in the same white suit. Comrade Karina grabbed him, hugged him, kissed him, and dragged him into the apartment. Comrade Ivanov, who was still sitting in front of the field glass, asked timidly, Comrade Cousin, what about your wife?
I left her.
Proudly answered Comrade Cousin.
I don't give a damn about mom and dad's opinion. Well done, my hero!
Comrade Karina exclaimed and once again kissed her dear guest on the cheek with all her heart. And just as everyone was about to raise the toast to unexpected confessions, the doorbell rang again. This time Sanya went to open the door.
Alec?
Sanya said in surprise, seeing Alec Katzman in front of the threshold.
Come in! Where have you been all this time? Wait, Sanya, wait!
Alec rattled, hiding something behind his back. Having hastily greeted the members of the feast, Alec jumped up to Comrade Kalina and continued in excitement.
Comrade Kalina, I got it! I did everything! What are you talking about?
She was surprised.
All your tasks! Here's a squirrel, knowing golden nuts.
Alec laid out a picture on the table which depicted the squirrel from that fairy tale. Then he poured out some small pewter figurines of hairs.
Here, 33 hairs complete with Uncle Chunamar. And here's a scarlet flower.
With the last words, Alec handed Comrade Kalina a model of the scarlet flower masterfully made of glass. Comrade Kalina took a look at all the objects presented to her and then turned to Sanya and asked,
Sanya, do you happen to have a tape measure?
Sanya found a tape measure and handed it to Comrade Kalina. Here, Comrade Kalina measured the height of Alec and said,
But you haven't grown up at all, sir.
Oleg sadly sank into a chair. Sanya shook his head disapprovingly and said, Your cruelty cannot be measured even with free tape measures, Marina's sister. To be continued.